Hey, what's up guys on Patreon? This is 3D Bonfire, or you can just name me Markus. This is part 2 of our soft body training, and I think it is time to deepen our knowledge and make something beautiful. So let's get started. Alright, so I thought we need some beautiful assets to play with. And I looked around for models that are not so expensive, and I decided to go to polygon.com. And I just bought 7 beautiful chairs. They are really high quality in texture and materials. This is just amazing. I think the models have around 1 million polygons, so they are really high quality models. But for simulation, this doesn't work so good. So that's why I decided to go into Cinema 4D and build low poly cages for these chairs. And then I did the simulation with the low poly cages and exchanged them in rendering with the high poly ones. So that's how you get such a beautiful result. So maybe we just watch a video how the result turns out. Alright, so I did 2 versions here. I just played with these models a little bit and I thought it would be beautiful to press them through a tight cylinder here, some tight hole. But this is just more or less information for me. So this was not tight enough. It was not impactful. I think it's a little bit boring, but well, not really boring. The behavior is still beautiful, how they bounce and fall on one of another and be stretched and deformed. So all in all, this is a beautiful rendering, but I think this one is even better. So here I made the hole really tight and you can see, so they clump here. Some of them are pressed through the hole. And I think this is really a nice rendering. So also I like the details here. So you can see this one is just being pushed out here, and yes, so this is a beautiful rendering and I just want to show you how I did it. So I think let's get started. Maybe first I just show you where I got the models from. So alright guys, so my assets, I just bought them at polygon.com. I don't want to make advertise for them, but I just think they have beautiful models, and in this case I don't need the textures but models. And so if you want to work with the same assets like I did and want to use my low poly cages that I will provide for you, you can think about just buy the same stuff, or maybe you already have models and you don't really need that stuff. So, but I searched here for chairs and you can see they have a lot of beautiful designer chairs. So this is really high quality modeling stuff there. And I went for this one, for example, and for this one. I will provide you with other low poly cages too, but for now I think we just get started with these 2. So let's get over to Cinema 4D. Yes, so I will provide you with this scene file, low poly cages for soft body simulations, and you can see this is the mango chair. So I will give you 2 different files. Maybe one is without the legs. So this is more abstract. And it has 300 polys, so this will give you faster simulations, but not so accurate like the 700 model. Plus this one will have the legs also in it. There is also the Moroso chair, so you can see I give you here even 3 models, so I just hand built them. So it took me quite some time to get it precise, but I think this was worth it. So you will have precise calculations with your soft bodies, and here is a 750 model and one with 440. And also this one, I just decided to get rid of the legs, so you can make more abstract stuff without legs. And now I think it is time to just show you how you can work with this low poly cages. So let's talk about this scene. Alright guys, so maybe you need a little refresher how you can use this low poly cages to make your simulations, right? So I just thought, maybe if you want to use the same models, I can provide you with my low poly cages and you can buy the assets that I also bought, because I can't provide you with this stuff. But of course you can decide to go with your own models and use your own poly cages and just build them. So this is just poly modeling from me sometimes, of course. So I think in part 1 I showed you this one. So you could also use this one, go to extensions and say quad remeasure and say I just want 1,000 polys here. but you will already see this won't work so good. So let's wait a second. All right, and here is the result. So you can see now I tried to make 1,000 polys out of it, and the result is not really stunning. You can see here are seams or holes, and this is just because the original model here, I just put it aside. It's one model in the hierarchy, but to be true, this is not fixed here. So you can see there is also a visible seam. You can see it there. So it is not one model, but it consists of different pieces. And that's why you get something, for example, like this, with a big seam there, and this is really not helpful for calculations. Also, when you have really big shifts in shape, like a big one there, and then it gets thinner here, where you need more segments to get it precise, the shape, then this tool falls apart. So it's not really helpful in that case. So let's just get rid of this one. Yes, so I took the time and hand built these ones. So to be honest, it took me a little bit of time, but therefore the result is really helpful. So the cage is more or less perfect for this kind of simulations. And sometimes you just need to take the hard way, take some time and build it manual. Yes, so maybe just a short lesson here. So if you don't want to go with these models and you have your own models and want to build the low poly cages, and this tool is not helping, neither does the volume builder and mesher will help you. I mean, let's just try if we can get a good result with this one. So grab this, grab a builder, grab a mesher, put the builder in the mesher, put this one in the builder. Let's see if we can achieve something helpful here. Maybe you don't really need to build it by hand. Let's see. Put it to 5, put it to 2. Oh, okay. So you can see this also has to fight a lot. I mean, here we already have too much subdivisions and this one will never be precise. So let's just skip this part. So I would say in this case, in this model, you just need to build it by hand. And I will just quickly show you how I did it. So I won't build the whole thing. That would be maybe could even take half an hour or something. So let's just give you the foundations here and you can do it with your models. So yes, so what I did, so I just start with a simple cube there and give it, maybe I start with something like this. Then I just kill these polygons. So UL to select these ones, UF to select these ones to get rid of it. And now I have half a cube. Not quite there, right? So why don't we grab a symmetry and put this one to, oh, sorry, no. Okay, always it's the last option. So you can see I just built half of the chair. And now it is time to just, I mean, this is really a bit time intense, but to move your points, go over it. Oh, this was already a little bit stupid. So just go here, go there, and just more or less you have to go round and around and just put your points where they belong. So you can see you can start, for example, with something like this. And then just temporarily, I just go here, give me more polys there, and put it up, and give me the point tool again. And more or less, this is what I would do there. So you just take your time and yeah, so this would be the part where you give yourself some meditation music or something and grab the knife tool So this is a little bit time intensive, but then at the end you will have a beautiful cage, and that's what I did with this one. So this is really precise. And now let's see how we can make this one in a cage that will transform the high poly mesh. Alright, so my low poly and my high poly, so they need to be perfectly aligned. And then you just grab the mesher, put the mesher in the high poly, and you just say this high poly mesh will be transformed by the low poly mesh. So this is a little bit of repetition from part 1 of this course, but yeah, let's just do it once more. So now you have initialized it and put this one to surface that all points will be moved with it. And now I just say this one will be a soft body, and there is already a floor. I just think it's more visually pleasing to have a disk here. And now we should have already a simulation. So let me just see. Alright, I think I just quickly bake it. Alright, baking is done. I have to say this already took like a minute or something. So yes, soft bodies aren't that fast. I think it depends on your processor power. My computer isn't so good with the processor, so I already needed to wait for a minute or something. And there you go, we have some soft body simulation here. Of course, this is not the most beautiful result, but now in the next part I will show you how you get beautiful results. So let's get over to the next example. And maybe one more thing, so of course the speed of your soft body simulation will depend on the poly amount of your cages. So the lower you go here, the faster your simulations will be. I think in that case, now we just worked with this low poly model, but if you would use this one, I think this will be almost as good as this one. So you can see this also has nice subdivisions, and I think even this one would be enough for that example, and this will be way faster in simulation. And if you go to this one, yes, this will be even faster. So look on your poly count of your cages, but sometimes, yeah, you just can't go lower than, for example, 300, or if you go to 100, this will be not precise enough for your chair, for your high poly model, and then everything will fall apart. So yes, be reasonable with your decisions here, how much polys you really need. Alright, so maybe this is a sensitive topic, we can talk a little bit more about it. So I just give you some examples here. So I have one object with the low poly cage with 700 polys, and one of them took 14 seconds to cache it, okay? Two of them already took almost 40 seconds. 3 almost take 75 seconds. And with 4, the caching time already goes up to 130 seconds. So yes, the time is going up quite heavily. And here I just make a little graph. I just built it in Cinema 4D with cloners, by the way. So with one chair, we go up to, I forgot the numbers. I think it was 14 seconds. With 2 to 35 to 38, 75 with 3 chairs, and with 4 we are up to 130 seconds. So you can see this graph is going up quite heavily. All right, let's see. I made another test where I used a low poly cage with 290 polys. All right, so this time with one object, the calculation time is only 4 seconds. With 2, it's 14 seconds. With 3, it's 25. And with 4, it's 36. So if you just compare them, so the blue one is the low poly cage with less polys. You can see this is quite more easy to manage. So here, yeah, you just reach quite fast big numbers there. I mean, sometimes you just need cages with more polys, but I just want to tell you, if you use low poly cages with less polys, yes, you can save time there. Alright, so I think we also should talk about some of the soft body settings. So I just compared some of them that I think were the most useful in this simulation with chairs. So for example, you can see this is all the standard values. The stiffness here is 0. And okay, this was a bad playback. You can see this chair, yeah, it's like a balloon. So I think now I went up with the stiffness to 1, and you can see it's a little bit more rigid. With 10, this is already a good number. And when I just make a playback here. With 10, I think this is a quite helpful number in that case. So 10 is working for me. And I think I already mentioned this in part 2 of the soft body tutorial. Stiffness is going from a soft body behavior more into a rigid behavior. And the higher you go with this number, it tries more and more to be like it is rigid, okay? So you can mix both behaviors. Wow, this is just bad compression. Let's see. With 80, this has become super bouncy. Okay. Let me see this one again. So 80, yes, I mean also quite a nice number there. As you can see, I didn't switch any other values. I just played with the stiffness and I get beautiful results. Alright, this time I went with the stiffness even higher and I tried something that fits the model perfectly. So, for example, if you want to have the legs that are more stiff than the upper part, you can use maps in your stiffness. So I will just go quickly to Cinema to show it to you. But in this case, you can see, I think, let's see. Okay, so you can see these legs and they have quite a big stiffness. So when it is coming down, this bounces and goes up. And the upper part, so here to the right of this field, of this linear field, everything to the right will be super soft with a value I think is of 0. And to the other part, it will be 300. So again, let me just go back a little bit. Yes, so the linear field is cutting the chair into 2 parts, more or less, and everything here has a bigger stiffness value than on top. And maybe I just show it in Cinema how I did it. So therefore, you just need a, how it is called, I think it's called a vertex map. Set selection, sorry, set vertex weight. So just put this one to 0 and you have something like this. Then you go into your vertex map and you can use it with fields. So here I just grabbed a linear field and I just reduced the length of it, maybe even less. And then I just grab my field, rotate it, and put it more or less there. So you have parts with 100% of influence and parts with 0 of influence. And then you just go to your soft body tag, go into the soft body, stiffness, put this one to 100 and put your field in it. So now you have 2 separate areas with different stiffness. Alright, so nice glitch. And here I just use the same linear field with the stiffness, but just inverted it. So I just turned it around with 180 degrees and now the other part will be stiff. So you can see this one, it just bounces here really hard. Okay, so stiffness is really important. Alright, just because this is so funny, we can talk about another parameter. So elastic limit, you have it also in the springs here, so you can play with it in different areas. But I just played with it in the shape conservation. And you can see in this case, the chair is just bouncing and behaves more or less normal. So, but if you reduce this one, you say the springs or the connections here, they can break. So when they reach a limit, they are just broken and won't go back to their state they had before. And this will permanently deform your chair. So you can see here, and the chair is broken. So sometimes this is just a beautiful effect when you want to throw your chairs against walls. Alright, so when we talk about elastic limit, I give you some extreme example here. So try to play with your values and think about what you want to achieve. For example, here I wanted to achieve a liquid, almost like melting chair. And most of the settings here are depending on the elastic limit. So really low values there. And if you just push it really hard, you get something like this. Yes, so play with your settings and try to achieve different results. Alright guys, so maybe we just quickly talk about my scene file. But to be honest, the stuff I did here is super simple. Yeah, I mean, you just need to know your tools and have some artistic feeling for it to make it beautiful. But yeah, so the stuff I did, technically, this is not so complicated. I just quickly go through it. So I always like to have a null in my center and put my cameras there so I can just simply rotate around my scene so I can get different angles. Yeah, so this is just happening with the framing of your scene. I put it to an Instagram format of 1350 to 1080 because this is an Instagram rendering. Here, okay, so in my scene I had a cylinder there, okay, and my chairs on top, and I just wanted to guide them through this hole, but I don't want it to have some ugly cylinder in my rendering, so I thought, how can I make this more beautiful? And I decided to just select, for example, one row of polygons there, and then press Shift C and say edge to spline, and you get a spline there. So put it out, just make this one invisible, and you can see I have a spline here with the center of it in the middle, so I just can rotate it to the side, for example here. That's what I did with the sweep NURBS here. So you can see this is on the side now. Let me see. So I had one there. I just duplicate it and put one here. So I have two splines. I can make this one invisible. And I just wanted to have this as a visual guideline here. You can see it there. So, all right. And these splines, I just put them in a sweep NURB with a profile. And that's how I get these two elements. So simple stuff, but beautiful. And of course, you have to think about your color scheme. So in my case, I went for a blue background here. So in my Octane Sky, I just put a RGB spectrum in it and tinted blue. All right. And that's why I also put my objects here. I make them also blue to have some beautiful color scheme with blue, and the main hero objects, they are red. All right. This is the cylinder, and of course, this one has just a collider tag on it, so stuff is bouncing. And I think you should think about your bounce and friction. So for example, when this object would have more friction, like 100, they would be, yeah, so they would more stick to the surface and wouldn't move that easily through it, okay? So just play with these values. All right. For the lighting, so I have to admit this was super simple. Sometimes just an HDRI is working, okay? And in that case, I just used a Studio Small HDRI. It comes from Polygon Haven. No, sorry, from HDRI Haven. And I think they are also free. So if you want to have the same lighting as I have, just try to put this one into your Octane Sky. All right, here is a disk on the floor to catch the shadows. Yes, so this is a shadow catcher, which will give you perfect shadows and will mix perfectly with your background. So if I get rid of this one, you will see ugliness, but so it's just beautiful. All right, and my floor on the same alignment here is just having another collision tag on it. Yes, so like the cylinder. And then when I get, so maybe I just freeze this, get out here, go to the start. And you can see I just put my chairs there and let them fall through the cylinder. So this is more or less what I did there. And I would say now it is playing time for you guys. So show me what you can do with that stuff. Alright guys, I think this is it. Now I'm just curious what you can do with this cool stuff here. I would feel really great if you can use the low poly meshes that I built for you, but of course you can also use your own models, and I'm just curious what you can come up with. So see you next time guys, have fun, goodbye.